It's finally here. Tomorrow, primary election is happening in Minnesota, and it's drawing a lot of interest from early voters. And come tomorrow, it also will lead to an unprecedented amount of monitoring by state and federal officials. We learned today that state election observers will be deployed to watch federal election observers. Really? Kent will explain why.
Our polling places will, as always, be an island of calm. That is our goal.
Minnesota Secretary of State Steve Simon admitted today that some politically choppy waters could surround those islands of calm in Hennepin and Ramsey Counties during tomorrow's primary.
I certainly understand why reports of agents of the federal government at the polls would alarm people, especially here in Minnesota, given what we have all gone through over the last several months. So I want to say that we aren't taking anything for granted.
Simon announcing that he, along with the Attorney General's office, will deploy election observers outside of the polls to watch the federal observers sent here by the Department of Justice.
They'll be standing outside the 100-foot zone, and we, working with the Attorney General's office, plan to have people watching the watchers just in case. Just in case.
Minnesota is one of 6 states the DOJ announced that it would send observers to last month.
We're sending actual DOJ civil rights lawyers. They're trained in election law. They're trained in observing these types of things. And, you know, who knows? You may even see me at the polls somewhere.
Federal observers were spotted inside polling places in several Michigan cities last week without any reports of issues. But their reception in Minnesota will be different.
Both Hennepin and Ramsey County have declined the DOJ's request to allow these observers, as they can under the law.
It's very unusual for a local jurisdiction to prohibit federal election monitors from observing the actual voting. I think this reflects a lack of trust by the municipal authority in Hennepin and Ramsey County regarding the Trump administration's observation.
Steve Scheer, political science professor emeritus at Carleton College, says all you have to do is look back to Operation Metro Surge or the numerous federal threats over voter rolls and federal funding to understand how that trust has eroded.
There's a lot of disagreement here.
But despite those politically choppy waters, voters themselves shouldn't have to worry.
They have in other states, to my knowledge, behaved themselves. We don't have any reason to believe they'll depart from that record this primary cycle, but we want eyes on the observers, and that's what we're aiming to do.
Now, I reached out to the DOJ to find out more, hopefully, about its plans for tomorrow, but I didn't hear back. But the Secretary of State's office did give them credit today for clearly communicating with them about their plans as far as they know. The observers will be in plain clothes, we're told, but they will have IDs to identify themselves, and they are not allowed to engage with voters on their way into the polls. Jana, I'm told they may ask some questions on the way out. I think they're there to make sure that there are no complaints. And again, this is usually to follow federal election laws, like around access.
Gotcha. So, Kent, this is just the primary tomorrow. Is this indicative of this happening again in November?
Well, back in July, when they made this announcement, the plan, they said, would be to expand this wider come November. Of course, we'll see how it goes in Minnesota tomorrow, but I'd say we could certainly expect to see more of the same in November, at least from what we're hearing.
All right, Kent, thanks so much. Thanks.